I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batmobile. Wait, that's not right, but it should be. Every Batman needs to have a Batmobile of some kind, or else something's just not right. It's a staple of his character. Now, with the new Batman movie on its way with a brand new Batmobile, today we're discussing all the cool gadgets that we want to see the vehicle include. I mean, sure, it probably won't include an emergency dashboard Justice League signal quite yet, but there's still some nifty things Robert Pattinson can play around with. Let's get started. Let's start out with a simple one. A key gadget that the new Batmobile needs to have is some sort of grappling hook. And whether they make it goofy in that it helps Batman drive up walls like in Batman Forever, or if it's more of a sturdy cable that hooks into things like the tumbler in Nolan's franchise, a grappling hook is essential to the vehicle's ability to function properly. Now, it's true that from everything we've seen so far, it looks like this new franchise will be more grounded and gritty, but that doesn't mean something like a grappling hook isn't feasible. It could be something that allows Robert Pattinson's Batman to make sharp turns, to hold his vehicle in place, or attach to other cars. See, not all Bat gadgets need to be goofy. Let's stay serious for a second, but trust me, I'm gonna get a little goofy later on, but for now, let's pretend like we're in a Nolan or Snyder universe rather than a Schumacher's universe, okay?
Why so serious?
Another gadget that sounds like it could be silly but is ultimately extremely helpful is an ejector seat. And yes, if you wanted to, you could present this as a silly extravagance, meaning it launches someone 100 feet into the air complete with a little parachute. But I'm thinking more tactically. Think of it like Bale's Batmobile, which saw an ejector seat that turned into the motorcycle. All I'm saying is, with this being near Pattinson's beginning of his new vigilante career, it would be smart for him to have a way to escape his vehicle if he's in a wreck or like, I don't know, underwater or something. It helps to be prepared. Another serious entry? Fine. A police radio is a gadget that's another essential piece of the Batmobile. This new version of Batman seems to have a somewhat good, somewhat shaky relationship with the Gotham City Police Department and Jim Gordon, so I don't expect them to always have Batman on speed dial. This means that Pattinson needs a way to keep an ear to the street to know what's happening in the city, and that's where the police radio comes into play. Is it high-tech and fancy? No, not really, but without it, Batman would just drive around and hope he stumbles onto some crime. I mean, given that it's Gotham City, that's actually probably pretty easy to do. Batman will be fighting mainly the Riddler in the new movie, but also developing his complex relationship with Catwoman and also crossing paths with the Penguin. That's a lot of villains who don't tend to fight with their fists, which means it would probably behoove Bats to have some type of gadget that helps him against poisonous gases of some sort. Like, would you be surprised if Batman is hot on the trail of the Riddler, he tries to solve whatever puzzles in front of him, probably to collect a Riddler trophy of some kind, and then getting hit with some type of toxic, mysterious gas? It would help if his Batmobile could help him out with this. And it's just good practice to have this type of gadget for whenever Scarecrow and Joker show up. Poisonous gas is kind of their thing. We know this Bruce is relatively new to this whole I am the Knight type of business, which means he's not going to be perfect when it comes to suit maintenance, which is why the Batmobile needs to have a specialty new suit gadget that either repairs the suit he has or is able to give him a new one if his current one is damaged. Like, sure, he could just throw in a spare somewhere in the trunk in a big duffel bag marked not a new Batsuit to throw people off, but it would be nice if this Batman had some presentation to his Dark Knight persona. Can you imagine looking out your window and seeing some guy change into a Batsuit in the backseat of a parked vehicle? No, that would defeat the illusion. There needs to be a gadget that helps him specifically with this. Okay, if there's one thing I know about Gotham City, it's that everything is dark, grimy, and there's places called Crime Alley just everywhere. It's going to be easy to get a little lost. Oh, sorry, Master Bruce, you were supposed to turn down that last dark alley, not this dark alley. Which means Bats needs a gadget that allows him to know the best route to get places. And no, I'm not just suggesting he plugs his phone into the aux cord and uses Google Maps. I'm talking about a specific Bat-centric direction finder that allows Batman to get to where he needs to faster. A necessity for the Batmobile is the ability to help Batman analyze whatever evidence he finds in the field. Like, sure, we can all picture Bruce brooding in his Batcave, sitting in front of a bunch of monitors, analyzing some piece of DNA, but that's a hassle to run back to the Batcave every time you have a new piece of evidence. Batman needs some type of supercomputer in his dashboard that analyzes thumbprints, hair samples, saliva, etc. It would make all his crime fighting much more efficient, don't you think? Plus, that would really help with the world's greatest detective moniker that other movies haven't really focused on. Okay, this one is just common sense. I think every Batmobile should come with some type of fire extinguisher. Whether it's a fancy foam-based controlled system that coats the car in protective, gel, foam, I don't know how to describe the stuff that comes out of fire extinguishers, okay? Or whether it's just a literal bat fire extinguisher that sits below the passenger seat. I think this is a necessary Bat gadget. Like, you just know some villain is going to get their hands on a rocket launcher or a bunch of grenades at some point, right? It helps to have a way to put the flames out. Look, I don't think it's controversial to say that Gotham City definitely has a lot of issues. The way it's presented in certain movies, it looks like a leisurely stroll downtown will immediately result in you contracting all sorts of diseases and toxins. Plus, you never know when a madman wants to set off a massive bomb, right? Which is why the new Batmobile should have a built-in Geiger counter in order to help Batman trace large amounts of radiation. You might think that's pointless now, but just wait until Riddler breaks into the abandoned uranium factory located in the middle of Gotham and steals all the supplies to make a series of bombs. Then you'll be happy that Batman installed that Geiger counter, I guarantee it. Gotham always seems like a very dreary place. It rains a lot and there's usually a harbor or some type of body of water that surrounds the city. Chances are if there's a dock full of shipping containers in Gotham, it means bad guys will gather there to do various nefarious things. And that means the Batmobile needs to be ready to get wet. I'm not saying at this time that the Batmobile should be able to turn into a submarine or anything, at least not yet. But I am saying that if Batman finds himself driving into the harbor to escape bad guys, the Batmobile should come with a few inflatable life rafts in order to help him stay afloat. Hey, that Batsuit is probably heavy after all. Although the Batmobile helps Batman get to places faster, it should also be noted that more importantly, it should be used to help Batman escape certain situations as well, which is what the next few gadgets will probably focus on. One escape-esque Bat gadget that this Batmobile can have is some type of smokescreen. Whenever Batman is jetting away from bad guys, it would help if bats could push a button and then automatic smoke bombs shoot out from everywhere, concealing his location. Batman's supposed to be stealthy, so why can't his car be also? Also, it's important for the Batmobile to be durable. It's not always going to be the case that Batman will be able to follow the rules of the road. He'll need to cheat a bit by driving through buildings, going off-road, and generally making his own shortcuts. Just think of Nolan and Bale's Batmobile, which memorably started driving over rooftops and causing a massive amount of collateral damage. That's why it would be helpful if the Batmobile came with hydraulic impact absorbers. This would help the new Batman jump and fly around wherever he ends up driving and not having to worry about his car being completely destroyed. If he drives off a building and lands on the street, I want to know that the car will be able to keep going, that's all. Do you think Dominic Toretto and his Fast and Furious family could beat the Batmobile in a street race? Well, I don't want to put Batman in that position at all, but if he is, then I need to know that the Batmobile is fast. It can't be one of those cars that struggles to get past 80 miles per hour. That would just be overall embarrassing for the new Vigilante, which is why a good old rocket booster will probably be featured in some capacity. Just picture the scene. Batman is racing Dominic Toretto on the last leg of a big race, but oh no, the drawbridge is going up. At the last second, Bruce hits his rocket button on his vehicle, and that gives him the boost needed in order to make it. Quick, someone please send me more Batman and Dominic Toretto fanfiction. I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one. The Batmobile needs missiles. It's an offensive vehicle and needs to have firepower in order to protect itself. Now, the type of missiles are up for debate. If Battinson is anything like Batfleck, then the missiles will be uber destructive with an extra dose of unaliving explosions. But if Battinson values human life and doesn't just want to blow people up, maybe the missiles will be more of a love tap than anything else? For this next gadget, I look to the beginning of the excellent video game Batman Arkham Asylum, which opens with Batman escorting Joker to Arkham Asylum in the Batmobile. Which opens the question, how exactly does Batman transport criminals? Would he really just let them in the front seat of his car to cause mischief and mayhem? No. The new Batmobile needs some type of containment unit, which makes it easier for Battinson to scurry criminals from the streets to Gotham City Police headquarters. Sure, I guess he could just throw them in the trunk, but where's the razzle-dazzle in that? I'm thinking some sort of gadget that subdues enemies in the back seat and makes it so they can't see anything that's happening in the front seat. Look, one thing that Gotham City excels in is henchmen. Every major villain operates some type of crime organization, and they all have goons that supply Batman an almost endless army for him to punch. It also means that Batman can show up to a place and be severely outnumbered, and that's where the riot suppressor gadget can come in handy. If there's a big crowd of people around that Batman needs to disperse or incapacitate, then a riot suppressor gadget would be perfect. It can be brutal, like some type of tear gas attack that reduces henchmen to tears, or it could get a little silly, like a gigantic peanut butter and jelly gun that traps a ton of people in one place. Okay, fine, that last one probably wouldn't work out so well because people would just eat their way out. There comes a time in every young Gotham City criminal's life where they think it's a good idea to shoot at or try to hit the Batmobile, and like a small child touching a hot oven, they only make that mistake once. Usually the Batmobile has some type of defense from attacks, so my recommendation is an electroshock defense. Kind of like in The Dark Knight when that Joker henchman tried to take off Batman's mask only to be shocked, but on a bigger scale. I don't think it would be too hard to set up a device that causes mild electrical shocks on impact with a push of a button, right? Maybe get Alfred or Lucius Fox to set that up. Okay, this one isn't technically a gadget, but it's just common sense. The Batmobile definitely needs a first aid kit. I don't care if Batman just slaps a bat sticker on a normal first aid kit and throws it in his backseat, but it's definitely necessary due to the constant cuts, scrapes, bruises, probable internal bleeding that the Bat suffers on a nightly basis. Quick, Robin, get the Bat Band-Aids and the Bat Neosporin. Batman needs to always be watching everything, at least he needs to try to. Criminals will only be scared of Batman if they think he's always lurking in the shadows or hiding around every corner. That's why it would benefit Batman to have hidden cameras everywhere that transmit directly to the Batmobile. I think that would be a smart way to have Batman always know what's happening in Gotham City, rather than him just happening to be in the right place at the right time. Plus, maybe if he has a TV in his car, in his downtime he can catch up on his favorite CBR videos, like the one where we give 15 examples of times he outsmarted his foes. Just a suggestion. Okay, if I say to you that the Batmobile needs asbestos costumes, you'll probably say I'm crazy. But picture this scenario. Joker has stumbled upon an asbestos dumping ground and has stolen it all for himself. For a sick prank, he sews in the asbestos in his new hideout and in every single one of his henchmen's clothes. You know, just for funsies. When Batman figures out what's going on, does he take a trip to his local hardware store to look for some asbestos protection gear? No. He could just hit a button on a console and his asbestos costume would pop up, ready to go. Now who looks foolish, huh? Always be prepared, Batman. Alright, here's the setup. You've seen the new Batman trailer where Robert Pattinson wails on some bad guy in the rain relentlessly and then says he's vengeance in a really cool way. But I'm going to spoil something for you. The very next line is Batman saying, "Alfred, bring me the Whirly Bat." And then he flies away in his little one-man helicopter. Oh, no? Darn, that would have been cool. A silly gadget that we probably won't see in The Batman is the Whirly Bat, which is the aforementioned mini helicopter that detaches from the Batmobile. I just don't think we're ready for that yet. Maybe in the sequel? Yeah, that'd be better. Gotham City is a dark place. I mean, I literally think it's nighttime for 20 hours a day. It's the only thing that makes sense. Which is why the new Batmobile needs to have emergency searchlights attached to it to cut through all the darkness, the fog, the smoke, the evil, etc. All of it. Oh no, have I mentioned a microscope yet? How could I forget? Of course Batman needs to have a microscope in the Batmobile. And not just any microscope, a bat microscope. A batcroscope? The name is a work in progress. But such a vital piece of science equipment serves two purposes. For one, it allows Batman to look really smart on the go while examining a vital piece of evidence. But then also, it's a perfect blunt instrument to bash in a bad guy's face with. For all the driving that Batman has to do around Gotham City, the Batmobile is going to need something more than just a normal set of tires. He needs tires that are fire resistant, water resistant, have a good grip, can go off-roading, can drive on slick surfaces, the works. And I'm not saying that I need Battinson to have specialty tires that can turn on a dime like Adam West's Batmobile tires, but I'm just saying it would be nice if when Mr. Freeze freezes the road, that the Batmobile can handle itself. My favorite part of The Dark Knight is when the tumbler shows up at the beginning and just sits there, and then all the bad guys just approach it and start shooting at it. Obviously it's a distraction since Batman can control his Batmobile remotely, and that's a really important feature for this new Batmobile to have as well. He can cause his enemies to look in one direction while he operates in the shadows, and then he can treat his Batmobile like one giant remote control car. Only he better be careful that someone else doesn't find a way to remote control his vehicle. Last time that happened, we got the disturbing image of Danny DeVito's Penguin playing around in a little toy bat car. Which Batman do you think has had the best Batmobile? Honestly, I've always been fond of Val Kilmer's Batmobile, but then again, it's hard to beat the utter perfection from the OG animated series. How about they just combine them all into one super Batmobile? Is that possible? Alfred could do that, right? He's like a mechanic.